Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event of the evening.
Hold one, Andre.
You're not good at this. Get out. Let me tell you a personal story about Vince McMahon.
You just made the list.
Oh my God!
Sorry, no speak English.
Dummy. Goodbye and good night. Hold two, on bar.
It's still real to me, damn it!
Dummy.
This is the worst town I've ever been in.
Hold three, Lamas covers, three-handle family credential.
Mamma mia!
And now, Unchained.media presents the B Plus Podcast with your host, GregUnchained.
It's me, Austin! It was me all along, Austin!
Number 4, armbar.
I will never retire!
I still got 200 more. I got 200 more holes to list.
All right, fellow B Plus players, welcome to the B Plus Podcast. I'm your host, Greg Unchained. Today is, I don't know, it's Tuesday when I'm recording this, but we're in holiday mode, and I'm going to sort of put this together when I put it together, and you're going to hear it when you hear it. The whole day thing doesn't make sense anyway, because you could be listening to this in 20 years from now. I don't know. But it's a bonus episode. That's the point I'm trying to make. It's a bonus episode, and joining me to talk, some things that have been happening in Aussie Grapps. Dan, how are you, Dan?
I'm wonderful, Greg. How are you, mate?
I'm good. I forgot to make the man behind the potato on the receipt. Sorry, the potato on the receipt, Dan. How you doing? Potato Dan.
Potato Dan, the spud. Yeah, no, I'm really good, man. Really good. How about
You can
yourself?
tell I'm in holiday mode, right?
It's a good time.
ruining everything.
It's a good time of year, man. They call it the silly season for a reason. I mean, for those listening, it is December, so
Yes. As we record, for those 20 years from now listening to this, to go back in the archives of Aussie wrestling and learn the history, it is December as we record this, and we are on holiday. The B Plus is taking a break. But before we took the break, I was up in Sydney for the PWA show, and we were supposed to, at the time, OneFall were doing their whole live streaming gimmick, and we did one episode to cover the first 2 episodes of OneFall, but then we never got around to doing episodes 3 and 4, simply because of time and Sydney, and then the holidays snuck up, and here we are on holiday being like, hey, I've had a few eggnogs, let's Fireball whiskey and eggnog, dude. It does not taste like alcohol.
no, it does not. They can put on the packet that it's got Bundy rum flavoring in it. It does not taste like alcohol. Definitely not.
Yeah, no, I mixed it with Fireball whiskey, right? And it tastes like you're eating like a wonderful, delicious Christmas cake of alcohol, but you don't taste the alcohol at all. It's really bad for you. But anyway, I'm a few eggnogs in, and I thought, let's talk about OneFall and also some other things that have been happening, because I haven't talked to anyone about wrestling in a week, and it's bumming me out.
No, well, let's do it, man. Thanks for having me on. Let's get straight into it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to talk about a few things that have happened in Aussie Grapps just before we get into the actual shows, because, there's not going to be a proper Aussie Grapps episode this week. So a few things that I wanted to talk about. JXT has launched a podcast. His first guest, Slade Mercer, and they go way deep, talking about his time as Max Damage, back into the archives of when he was over in New Zealand and before he came over here and what have you. And it was a really great interview. Have you had a chance to listen to that one yet?
I have not, but it's on my to-listen list, absolutely. I was a bit late with my review for PWA, so I've got that sorted out now, so that'll be the next thing on my list is to listen to that.
It's the silly season. It is. And, I mean, I saw your review. I read your review, and it did say it for those who haven't watched yet, it'll be up on PWA Play soon. It was up on PWA Play well before you posted your review.
I probably should have reread that first paragraph. I apologize.
Should have edited the first paragraph. This is like if it was on the B plus, this is something I could have picked up, but it's over on the potato and receipt.
I did put it over on the B plus. It is over there as well. So, yeah, no, I kind of jumped into it very quickly, and I didn't read it. I'm sorry. Silly season. Let's say silly season.
But no, it was a really good interview. I like to mention any other Aussie Grappling interviews that take place, on these Aussie Grapps shows. So, if you're a fan of Aussie Grappling interviews, you definitely want to check out JXT sitting down talking with Slade Mercer. And this is going to be a weekly show now. So I love how many podcasts are popping up talking about Aussie wrestling now. Because when I started, Wrestle Radio Australia have been around forever and they do great work. But I started at about the same time as On the Turnbuckle. We both sort of popped up at the same time there, and we were like, "Hey, podcast buddies, hey!" And but now there's we've got Talk and Stick, we've got Wide World of Wrestling, I think it's called. I keep going to say Wide World of Sport, but that's Channel 9.
That's right, it is.
Yeah. Wide World of Wrestling, which is the same guys that do Rocky Like a Hurricane Rana, which is, I kind of don't count that because it's more music, I guess. But then, they're just popping up all over the place now, and it's great. I love it because more interviews for me to listen to with Aussie Grapplers, which is what I love.
Oh, absolutely. And I think what I like most about this one is it's a prominent Australian wrestler, talking to other wrestlers. So I think we were talking before, he might just have that extra edge to bring some things out of his guests. So I think it's definitely, I'm actually really excited to listen to it. And I think that it won't just be Slade going back to his time as Max Damage. I think you'll find that anybody that sits down with JXT is gonna open up like a book. So it's going to be really, really interesting as the weeks go by.
Right. Yeah. So, I do Aussie Grappler interviews myself. And I feel like I do a decent job at getting people to open up, but I think there's going to be a different level of trust there when they're talking to another one of the boys that they literally put their lives in each other's hands when they go out there. I think so. JXT is going to be able to get that little bit of extra sauce out of these guys, which is really, really good to listen to.
Oh, for sure. And you've seen the guy wrestle. He's so entertaining as well. So I think that this is a natural move for him. I know he's done some co-hosting duties on the Turnbuckle, and I think he did some stuff for One Fall as well. So yeah, he's born to do anything to do with media.
He's highly entertaining. I'm waiting for the major wrestling figure guys to give him the call up. That's what I'm waiting for. Because have you seen his collection?
No, but I've heard the myths and legends related to it. I've seen the awesome Wolfpack watch he has.
Yeah, you've heard tell though, right? Because if you follow him on Instagram, this guy, the stuff he posts, like he does them up. He's got like a custom WCW entranceway that he's made out of other like pieced together kits and stuff. It's amazing. It's really awesome. So yeah, but that's enough plugging JXT and his podcast. You're listening to the B+. This is the number one Aussie wrestler. I don't know. There is no base to that claim whatsoever. Something else that I wanted to talk about. Underworld Wrestling. So Underworld 4 has dropped on Pivot Share. I talked about that on the last Aussie Grapps show. It's a good episode, probably the weakest episode of the 4 so far. I know you haven't gotten around to watching it yet, so I don't want to ruin anything for you, but it's a good episode. Underworld itself is a fantastic promotion, and the whole concept is fantastic, but I did feel like episode 4 was just kind of missing a spark. It was a good episode, but it just wasn't great. But they've announced some stuff for their upcoming tapings. Glory to the Claw, which is the big season finale. Have you seen some of these announcements?
I've seen the posters that have been put up. Is it a whole weekend event? Is it
No. So they're playing off the fact that like it's a long weekend of wrestling because World Series Wrestling are in town. So originally the show was for March 9th, and then World Series Wrestling announced their tour starting March 7th in Adelaide, 8th and 9th in Melbourne, 10th and 11th in Sydney, right? So they moved their show to the 10th in the hope that people will want to make a weekend out of it, I suppose. So, you go out Friday night to watch WSW, you go out Saturday night to watch WSW, then you go out Sunday afternoon to watch Underworld Wrestling.
I like it. You look at the Super Show down in Melbourne, people went to Wrestle Rock, they went to MCW, and then went to Super Showdown. So
yeah,
there's no reason why people won't do it. Was it Lyle that you spoke to from on the Turnbuckle that actually went to Glow on the same weekends as the two World Series Wrestling shows?
Yeah, Lyle from On the Turnbuckle. He did a triple header just a couple of weeks ago. Melbourne get them a lot.
They do, and it's good that there are fans out there that take advantage of that because they've got some of the best talent in Australia right on their doorstep. So
yeah, we've got a doubleheader coming up here in Adelaide. The first show's back of the year. I want to say it's February 1st and 2nd, but don't quote me on that. And that's Riot City Wrestling on the 1st and then Wrestle Rampage on the 2nd. And it's their first shows of the year back to back, one night after the other. So I'm very excited about that doubleheader that we're having. I can't imagine, how amped I'd get for a triple header. I'd probably hate it afterwards. I'd be very tired.
yeah. There'd be like a week-long wrestling hangover, I think, that would follow that.
Yeah, you need to take a break after. I think that's what Lyle said too. He was happy to take a couple of days off after watching 3 days of live wrestling. But yeah, they've got this, so they had to move the show. They've been a bit cheeky about it on social media as well. Their post when they announced moving the date, they were like, due to unfortunate whatever, blah, blah, blah. But they capitalized certain words.
Okay.
And it's spelt out something to the effect of, I can't remember, but World Series can suck the claw's dick. So
that's wonderful.
Those were the words that were capitalized. So if you pulled out the capitalized words, there was a secret hidden message there, which Underworld want to do. I don't know how I feel about that because I'm like, I like World Series wrestling, but I think it's tongue in cheek. I don't think they're being serious about it.
No, it's all a bit of fun. It's a bit of friendly.
But I mean, having to move your date would be frustrating, I'm sure.
Yeah, but I think as you discussed with Adam, you kind of have that. They're working together in a way.
Yeah.
So yes, they're moving out of the way to be in direct competition, but at the same time, you're complementing each other's product at the same time. So. I think they're poking a bit of fun at it more than anything. Just with that
just
attitude.
a little bit of tongue in cheek because Underworld have that attitude exactly.
Oh, totally. They've got that. Yeah, that ruthless attitude. They're headed by the Claw, and the Claw don't really give a shit about anybody. So
I made the mistake of watching the first episode of Underworld with my daughter in tow, and she's 3, or she's almost 4 now, but she was just 3 at the time when the first one came out, I think. And I realized very quickly that this was not a show to watch with children.
Yeah, which part was it? Was it Jackson Kelly knocking JXT clean out?
No, I think it was Gino Gambino's promo.
Oh God.
That was the point. The violence, the kid's okay with the violence. Like we wrestle all the time, I'm talking about like my 2-year-old. If you say super kick, he will hold onto the couch for balance and he will lift his leg up and slap his thigh.
Amazing.
Right? Like these are kids that know wrestling. Like she sits there and she has her favorite wrestler's Marty Scurll. Like she knows her shit, man. She's 3. It's kind of impressive. So the violence wasn't the thing, but it was when it got to the, Gino's promo and he's talking about Justine and or the person, I can't remember who it was, but he was going off at the social media people and motherfuck this and suck a dick that, and you're only here because you're a whore. Just what's a whore, Daddy? Okay, time for you to leave the room.
It has plenty of attitude that children probably shouldn't be privy to. I think.
I love Underworld though. I do. It's really fun, and they've announced their tournament is going to take place at Glory to the Claw. So they're doing an actual tournament with brackets, and they're naming a number 1 contender. I don't know how I feel about that, though.
Well, yeah, I mean, we were talking about it before offline. The point system has been so important to the whole setup. So to then have a tournament where you're basically throwing it out the window, I feel a bit funny about it too, to be honest.
Right, because they're introducing that at the end of the year, I think, I may be wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure they were saying at the end of the year, the points get wiped. Or like, not at the end of the year, at the end of the season, the points are getting wiped. Which seems kind of weird to me because this is an Underworld fight club that's been going for 200 years, and to say at the end of the season, the points get wiped, that's kind of like we're setting an arbitrary date that everything you've done means absolutely nothing.
But it also, it also does make sense with some of the story, like Pitbull, for example, when he started in Underworld, he'd said that he'd fought there for a long time and been undefeated, but then he was kind of away for a while. And, spent some time in jail and all that sort of stuff. But he only had, I think it was 4 points. So it kind of makes sense that there is that wiping of the points, as it were. I get where you're coming from, but I think it sort of it went well with the story anyway.
Yeah. Well, they can also play it in a way with, like, Pitbull or one of the other guys that, what's it, Mad Dog, that's come in on the last couple episodes, and he's pissed off that, this whole place has gone entertainment. People are doing photo shoots. I remember when there were, rats jumping out of my bag, And so I think that, I can't remember if it was Pitbull or Mad Dog that said that, but these two guys, they can play off that whole, like, if this is something that the Claw have instituted since going public to try to put some sizzle on the steak kind of thing, then you can play off it like that. Like, why the fuck are our points getting fucking wiped, cunt? Like, this is ridiculous. Like, you can actually play into it with that stuff too, which I think is pretty cool. But I do, like, as a viewer, I'm so invested in the point system and all that, and I'm thinking, so Carlo is at 8 points ready to get a shot.
Yes.
And I'm going to assume he will have his shot at these tapings at the same time the tournament is going on, so that won't become redundant. But doesn't Jean Wen Guok also have 8 points, or at least 6 points? Like, he's really close. Like, he's on the verge.
Yeah. He's sort of very close to being next in line as well. So I'd be pretty upset if I was him. And maybe they might play on that, if his points get wiped when he's so close. Maybe he goes on a tear through the tournament,
Yeah. Like Jeff Cobb in Ring of Honor, just destroying everyone, being like, no fucking tournament, it's me. Well, I'd love to see that. But it would kind of kill the tapings, though.
Well, and if you remember, at the very beginning, he said, no interviews till I get Carlo. Like, he wants to fight Carlo Cannon. So I think that they've got something pretty special there if they play it right. Like, to have him miss out, maybe have Carlo as champion, potentially regaining his title, or, them having to meet somewhere in the tournament after Carlo got to use his points, but Guok didn't. Yeah, I think there'd be a good story there and a hell of a match.
Yeah, so there's a lot of ways it can go. And, Mike Quackenbush talks about, Mike Quackenbush is just a wrestling god to me. And so if he says it, then I'm on board. And he says that the best drama is when there's uncertainty, and you need to have uncertainty. Like, you can't have people coming in being like, oh, I'm pretty sure I know what's going to happen here. And I'm looking at this, like, there's a tournament, they're wiping points. What the fuck's going on? There's a live reanimation. What is that? I have no idea. So I'm all in on this. Like, the drama of it has me,
The history-making first time on Australian soil live reanimation.
What is a reanimation? I'm going to assume this has something to do with the Helmet character, which you haven't watched episode 4, so you don't know what I'm talking about.
I don't.
There was someone spoilers.
No,
I'm really sorry.
It's okay.
I can't talk about it without. Yeah, there's someone on their knees in front of Lord Mark Williamson at the end of episode 4, and he's like presenting him with a helmet, and I can't remember what was said, but it was something to the effect of like, "You've made the right choice coming home," kind of thing.
Interesting.
And so I don't know, is this a person who we know already, who has been on the show, and they're going to be reanimated into this new character, or is it something completely different that has nothing to do with this? It's got to do with Lord Mark Williamson, of course, but yeah, it's a live reanimation. I mean, that's necromancy, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Look, with Lord Mark Williamson, there is nothing off the table. We could get something, like you said, somebody that we know, like maybe a Jackson Kelly or something like that they've brought back and they're reanimating as a different character. Or it could just be someone totally out of left field. It makes for the uncertainty that you're talking about, and man, it's interesting. I can't wait to see episode 4, and then also these new set of tapings as well.
Given the way some of these things play out, I could even imagine him frantically rushing around backstage, being like, "I need to do a reanimation. I have no idea what I'm doing. Like, we promised this thing to get people to come, and now what the hell am I going to do? What the hell am I going to do?" And Crackerjack just being like, "You need someone dead? We'll get someone dead. Don't worry about it."
Yeah.
No, like, I can see, like, there's a lot of ways they can go with it. The intrigue is very high. We don't even know where the show is taking place. It's a top secret location. You have to message them to talk about buying the ticket to get the address for where it is. So it's pretty hush hush.
I like it. I like it. I like how they did the whole post where, Mark Williamson fled from the previous Claw HQ and, to find a new location, and it's great. And the shroud of mystery where you actually have to reach out to find out where this exclusive Fight Club is. It's fantastic.
I love how much of it is, like, I don't know how much of it is a work, how much of it is a shoot. I mean, there's a post up there talking about message Lord Mark if you want to join the Claw. $50, you'll get a robe, you'll get a book, everything, right?
Yeah.
So I messaged Lord Mark. I'm like, is this a shoot? Like, is there actually, you're selling robes and books now? Like, I'm in. Like, I want it. He's like, no, this is real. Absolutely. You're making a wise choice, right? And I'm like, okay, the whole you're making a wise choice for your life and all that sort of stuff. I'm like, okay, that's all in character. But he told me this is real, right? He's like, you'll hear from me in a week. I have heard nothing. That was a week and a half ago. And I'm like, I want to know, like, how much of this is just an elaborate joke being played on people? It's so confusing to me, but I think I love it. I think I love it. Something else I love, World Series Wrestling. They're coming back. They're doing Adelaide this time.
Yes, they are. They've heard you reaching out every single opportunity you got. They've listened, and they're delivering to you.
Huzzah! No, I think they're gonna. I don't think it's me. I think they're gonna alternate between Perth and Adelaide, and hopefully for Queensland, hopefully Queensland as well. But I don't know what's going on there.
I think that's the right thing to do. I think alternating around, doing different shows in different areas, like we see with Sydney, they're going to do Hurstville as well as Penrith, because I think there's been a lot of feedback that people haven't been particularly, even though it's sold out practically every time, there's been people saying they don't really want to travel to Penrith.
Yeah.
So they're giving that other option at Hurstville, where House of Hardcore did previously.
Yeah. Which means it's going to be interesting to see how Penrith draws now that there is another option for people.
Yeah. So that and Penrith, I believe, is still on the Monday night too. So it could make for. It could work well, but it could also, hurt World Series Wrestling. I certainly hope it doesn't.
Yeah. It's an interesting experiment, but they could effectively shoot themselves in the foot.
Yeah, you're kind of splitting your market a little bit.
Yeah, but that said, there's a lot of wrestling fans out west, so I don't think you're necessarily going to have too much of a problem filling. What's it, Evans Theatre? Is it at Panthers?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think that's going to be too much of a problem. Now the announcements though. So the announcements that they've done so far. Obviously, Robbie Eagles is here to defend his title. Villain Enterprises, that it being Marty Skrull and not PCO, but Brody King. PCO is in Villain Enterprises now in Ring of Honor, which is really cool. We got a sneak peek of Villain Enterprises here in Australia before it happened in Ring of Honor. Yeah,
I like that. I like that, Marty and Brody have spoken to Adrian, and they've said this is something that we're looking at doing, and they've been able to get it started up. And then, as you said, they've added PCO now. Like, what a menacing team that is.
Yeah. And when you add that to the fact that Adam Page versus Joey Ryan only happened here in Adelaide, like after the murder anyway. So there's Australia is actually having important things happening, like on a world stage. Like, these are global guys that are huge names in the industry, and they're starting angles or closing angles, as it were, here.
Yeah, it's fantastic that they've been given the ability to do that, and they're carrying the story. It just gives so much more value to the tours. It doesn't just become like a one-off show. Like, people will go to those shows and say, "Well, I saw Hangman Page take on Joey Ryan," or I got to see Villain Enterprises capture the tag team titles at World Series Wrestling before they actually debuted in Ring of Honor as Villain Enterprises.
Right, and then on the other side of it, people who are watching Ring of Honor can go, wait, these Villain Enterprises guys already, like if they look them up on Cage Match or anything like that, they can say, wait, these guys already have a tag team title elsewhere? How did I miss this? And they can look up that World Series Wrestling show on Global Wrestling Network or wherever else on DVD, and they'll then be exposed, of course, to Robbie Eagles defeating Austin Aries and all these sorts of awesome things as well. So it's really cool for our guys. It's really cool for World Series Wrestling. I love it. And anyway, we're getting away from it. The announcements, they also announced SCU.
SoCal Uncensored. No,
all three of them.
It,
Taz, Daniels, and Scorpio Sky.
And it's good to have Daniels back. I saw Daniels for the let's say ill-fated AWF Super Show. I was there in
you and 30 other people.
Yeah, so I got a photo,
like Australia-wide.
I got a photo with Daniels, and I was so chuffed to see him in the flesh. I'm such a big fan of his. So for him to be able to come be part of the World Series Wrestling shows, with the really big responsive crowds, I'm really happy for him. And then to also bring out Scorpio Sky and Kazarian as well. Oh, man, it's a indie wrestling fan's dream.
Yeah, well, Kazarian, the last time he was out, he worked Future Wrestling Australia, which, I like what they're doing. But again, crowd-wise, it's a much smaller show than World Series Wrestling. So it's really good to have these guys coming out so that they can actually see what Australia has to offer on that higher level. I mean, they obviously come out and they do their thing with the other promotions, and that's fine. But World Series Wrestling, it's really good to see them on board with this one.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And then we got the announcement yesterday of Jordan Grace, which is very exciting. We talked about the women in the World Series Wrestling tours and how we would like to see, some more women being booked and some more independent women, let's say, being booked. And it's interesting to see Jordan Grace announced. I'm hoping that, this is, them World Series Wrestling listening to what the fans are asking for. Because I know I'm not the only person who's talked about this either.
Oh, I've seen it out there on, wrestling Twitter and in some of the wrestling fan groups on Facebook and things like that. There's been demand because we have some fantastic female wrestling talent, and we want to put them up against the best, just like Robbie Eagles, Mick Moretti. Mick Moretti got to take on Brian Cage in that fatal four-way, I think it was, where it actually got shown on Impact, and Robbie, obviously incredible, taking on Austin Aries, defeating him to become, the first Australian holder of the World Series Wrestling title. We want to see our female wrestlers in similar positions, being able to take on some of the best independent talent in the world. And Jordan Grace is a fantastic choice to bring across. She's been tearing it up in Progress, obviously Impact Wrestling as well. She was on the All In show, and she had an incredible performance in that as well. I can't wait to see who they match.
Could we see a continuation? I mean, it hasn't been announced yet, but you got to assume Brian Cage is coming. He's been on every tour since they relaunched. Brian Cage loves it here in Australia. He loves World Series Wrestling. So I'm assuming that Brian Cage is coming back, especially given some stuff on Twitter we'll talk about in a second. But could we see a continuation of Brian Cage and Jordan Grace?
Man, I certainly hope so. And you know what? As we've said just before, they love to touch on these stories. So there's no reason why we might not see that match booked. And I think that would be one that the fans would be extremely excited about.
But it'd be interesting because I don't know what World Series Wrestling's stance is on intergender stuff. I mean, obviously they did the bit with Belle Pierce and Austin Aries, which is a continuing story, to be honest with you.
Well, that's right. It'd be interesting to see if Austin does end up getting announced. Excuse me. How he'll feel about Belle Pierce. I'm sure he'll be filthy and be looking for revenge. So, we might see a few intergender matches on the next tour.
Interesting. It's interesting how these things have been built over time as well. So it's very exciting. Now, yesterday, today, literally an hour ago, Flip Gordon was announced as well. And he's been going back and forth with Brian Cage on Twitter about debuting the Flippin' Machines. So that's where I think Brian Cage is probably a lock for this tour.
He just has so much love for World Series Wrestling. There's constantly interviews where Brian Cage is talking about how good the promotion is, how well the stars are looked after, the talent. I think it'd be a very sad day if he didn't appear on a World Series Wrestling show. So he's going to be 100% lock. And Flip Gordon coming back as well. he seemed to have fantastic feedback about his time here as well. So it seems like he shares the same sentiment of Brian Cage, and it looks like they want to do that tag team. They want to do the Flippin' Machines, probably go after Villain Enterprises, which would be pretty exciting to see.
Yeah, we could Flippin' Machines versus SCU as well. Any incarnation of SCU would work well as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then we've got our own guys here that would work well with Flippin' Machines.
Absolutely. Why not have Velocities against the Flippin' Machines?
Absolutely, the Phillip brothers.
Absolutely. Yeah, there are some fantastic tag teams in Australian wrestling, so it'd be good. It almost seems like a very tag team heavy World Series wrestling show lineup at the moment. So maybe,
I love tag team wrestling, so I am perfectly okay with this.
And me too. And maybe that means we see some Australian tag teams. Obviously, the Philippe brothers have had their opportunities previously. I'd love to see them on the shows again. Provided they're away from Fale Dojo at that time to be a part of it. But
yeah, definitely. There's some other. Untouchables would be great as well. There's a lot of options there. Now we got to touch on the controversial announcement. So they announced in a meet and greet only capacity. He's not here to wrestle, obviously. Of being the Elite fame, Fat Ass Massa is coming to Australia. How do you feel about Fat Ass Massa being announced for World Series Wrestling? Yeah.
Look, I'm with Big Boy Mikey on this one. I saw a Big Boy Mikey post into one of the Facebook groups that we're a part of. What would Gorilla Monsoon do? And he just said it's a bit of fun, and I tend to agree with him. It's a bit of fun. Yeah, you can take him or leave him, sure, but you know what? Like he's a personality. You see him taking his videos with Marty Skrull, and he's always hanging out with the Elite guys, with the Young Bucks. I mean, just take it for what it is. It's a bit of fun. Like, there's no need to get upset. I saw someone say it was embarrassing, and they felt disrespected. I think we need to calm down a little bit.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people talking about like, oh, this is a joke. World Series Wrestling are taking the piss. Like, what a absolute bloody ridiculous. I'm like, you realize that we just got Marty Skrull, Brody King, Christopher fucking Daniels, Frankie Kazarian, Scorpio Sky. Like, you realize these people have all been announced as well, right? And then they throw out, Fat Ass Master's coming over to shake some hands and take some photos, and everyone's like, what? What is this nonsense? And it's like, oh, no, this is wrestling, guys.
That's right, man. That's right. And you know what? Like, there will be fans that will line up and they will take a photo with Fat Ass Master. They will do it because it's an opportunity to, brush up with some indie wrestling, fame, so to speak. And again, it's a bit of fun, man.
I took it as a signifier that, look, this probably means the Bucks or Cody are coming as well, right? Because they're all buddies with this guy. Like, and that's the other thing too. He's a sponsor over there in Japan, right? Like, so that means he's a wealthy dude that like takes the wrestlers out, buys them meals, all that sort of stuff.
Absolutely, and he loves wrestling. He's not trying to ride the coattails. This is where, like, it's just a bit of fun.
Yeah. Well, this is where as well, I feel like it may not just be a bit of fun. I don't know whether, you talk about 4D chess, 5D chess. I don't know what kind of game Adrian's playing, right? But if you think about it, a lot of our guys are going to want to go over to Japan.
Yeah.
You bring Fat Ass Massa over here. He's a sponsor of people. When they go over there, he buys them meals, puts them up in hotels, all that sort of awesome stuff. Why would we not want him to be making friends with Robbie Eagles? Why would we not want him to be making friends with Mick Moretti, with whoever else may want to eventually head over to Japan for whatever promotion? Why would you not want that for the boys? It makes sense to me. Now, I look at that because I do think that, bringing someone over for a meet and greet where, obviously you're paying for an international flight from Tokyo, and then you're paying for domestic flights all across the country and then going back. You're putting quite a bit of money here, and is Fat Ass Massa going to make you that kind of money? Not necessarily. But when I look at World Series Wrestling and from talking with Adrian and what he's wanted to do, what he's been able to do with, and it's been a slow burn. We always say, the Aussie guys could win more on these shows. It would be really nice to see the Aussie guys win more. But it's been building to a point where we can believe that they will win, right? And now we have an Australian World Series Wrestling champion. So I believe that Adrian and World Series Wrestling, they have the heart in the right place where they want to build Australia up. So why would we not give him that charitable thought and think he's bringing Masa over here to meet some of our boys because Masa's a freaking sponsor in Japan?
That's right. That's right. And what's this show called? It's called Defend and Destroy. So I think we're going to see, like you said, it's been building. You know, the pot's been simmering away on the stove. This is the time when the Australian wrestlers can stand up. They've got a networking opportunity. As you said, it's almost like a gateway to Japan, having him here, seeing what talent is there. Any eyes from international promotions that are coming across to look at guys can only be a good thing. Good thing.
Absolutely. I mean, we know that Cody is talking about wanting to scout here, right? He's taking people out for business lunches. He's joking back and forth on Twitter with Brandy about, these are all business lunches as I'm scouting.
Yeah, lunches for the boys.
Some of our guys could potentially get signed up into this whole all elite wrestling thing. Like, how can you not be on board with what they're doing at this point? Like, to go out there and just be so, like, I think of it as, you know, looking at it of the intent behind things, and I like to assume positive intent with stuff. That's why when a lot of people were about to get to One Fall, when a lot of people were shitting on One Fall, and I'm like, look, I'm seeing it as here's someone trying to have a go and give the boys somewhere else to work, trying to get something on TV. Now, it may not be the best, it may not be what we wanted, it may not be what he wanted. I don't know. We haven't had a chance to talk yet and catch up. But at the end of the day, you got to assume positive intent, not just assume, this is an idiot just trying to scam or whatever, that sort of stuff, or, you know, these people are throwing money away because they're marks and they just want to meet fat-ass Masa. Like, why be so uncharitable in your thinking when you could look at it and go, what's the best possible reason they could have behind what they're doing? And just assume that's what's happening.
That's right. Couldn't agree more. I think you just nailed it. I won't add anything more to it. I think you're 100% right.
All right, so before we get to One Fall and PWA, two more things I want to talk about. Jimmy Havoc's opponents have been announced for his upcoming tour. Some of them, because he's doing Wrestle Rock as well. He's also doing, I think it's IPW over in New Zealand, or it might be SPW. I'm not sure which one. He's doing one of the New Zealand promotions as well. But his opponents for Melbourne City Wrestling and PWA have been announced.
They sure have. And the PWA one, Matty Wahlberg.
Kill Wahlberg, kill.
I think my favorite line of his that he's put up so far on Twitter is, I have never suffered and I never will. So, if you know Jimmy Havoc, he comes out to I Hope You Suffer by AFI. So I think he's taking a pretty big dig at Jimmy Havoc. He's egging him on, and that could hurt Matty Wahlberg, I think.
Yeah, well, you could not get two more polar opposites than Jimmy Havoc. You know, this British underground punk, hardcore, scrappy dude, and then Matty Wahlberg of the Babes.
Well, and
Matty Wahlberg with the fresh jersey, Matty Wahlberg with the red cup. Like, there's a bit of a contrast here between these guys.
Well, I would have been in Jimmy Havoc's group at high school. We would have been sitting on the alienated table in the corner, where Matty Wahlberg would be with the cheerleaders and the prom king. Like, if we're talking the American cliques, Matty Wahlberg would be the popular homecoming king, you know. So, as you said, polar opposites, and then even in wrestling style as well. But Matty Wahlberg, he is a crafty guy, super athletic. He will definitely have something up his sleeve.
Yeah, this could bring out a new side of Matty Wahlberg, one that I don't think anyone wants to see, but oh man, we want to see it, if that makes sense.
I think I think people don't realize that they want it until they see it, and they're going to say, "Man, I can't believe he had this in him." Because I don't think I've ever seen Matty Wahlberg in a no DQ match, so perfect opportunity.
Yeah, apparently he and Ricky South tore it up on the weekend at Wrestling Go in an Iron Man match, which I can't wait to see that one when it makes tape. But I've heard very, very good things about it, and like you, I'm hanging for the video because I think Ricky South got a locker room ovation following the match, and
got to see it.
Yeah, and it's these kind of matches that are going to take it to the next level, like this, because it's a match with Jimmy Havoc, no matter who you are. And I mean, Ricky South has been through this. A match with Jimmy Havoc is going to add something new to your character, because once you've been through that, your character can't be the same.
No, well, and that's the thing. Ricky South's character, after PWA Progress, he actually got a bit of a hardcore deathmatch following. And then it sort of led into the match he had with Michael Spencer in their best of 3, where it was a fans bring the weapons match. And he basically again showed that hardcore deathmatch side to him, and the fans lapped it up. They loved it. Maybe we see that from Matty. Maybe that's the next development in Matty Wahlberg's character.
Well, I think just knowing, just seeing the punishment that he's going to take and the punishment that he will subsequently dish out as well, it takes you to that next level, because it's like now, no matter who you're against, like no matter who is going to be coming up against you, they have to have in the back of their mind what you are capable of. Like we learn something new about you in a match like this, and so I'm very excited to see it. And someone else who's going to get that opportunity, and this one I did not see coming, and when I saw it, I was like, holy crap, take my money. Yes. Smash Mouth Richie Taylor, he's getting the match in MCW.
Yeah. Again, unexpected. I didn't expect Matty Wahlberg either, to be honest. I saw an exchange on Twitter regarding that, but I didn't think it was going to come to fruition. And I definitely didn't see this one. But again, it's the one that you might not have necessarily wanted or realized that you wanted it. Now that it's been announced, I want to see this match.
Oh yeah, it's going to be hard hitting. It's because Richie Taylor is a hard hitting dude. I mean, he's Smash Mouth. He's Smash Mouth for a reason, right? And I can't. Ooh, take my money. I'm very much looking forward to this one. I unfortunately don't get to smell the iron in the air. I will be watching on Vimeo, but I'm very excited for it.
I'm fortunate enough to be at PWA, but on that night. But yes, MCW, I most certainly will be watching that on Vimeo the second it's available. Cannot wait to see that one.
Yeah, and the last thing before we get to the shows, Nick Miller, Mikey Nicholls, as we would know him here in the Aussie Grapps community, of TMDK, now known as the Mighty, well, I guess not now, but were known as the Mighty in NXT, also TM61 for a time. Mikey Nicholls has been released. He's coming home from the looks of things. Not a lot of details about this. All we know is he asked for his release, and he's wanting to come home. So, I don't really want to speculate about dude's personal life or anything like that, but I am hoping that this means we're going to get Mikey Nicholls back in the... I'm hoping this isn't a retirement of any kind.
I don't think it is. He posted... There was the report from Meltzer and others where they mentioned it was for personal reasons. He actually posted himself. I'm not sure if it was Instagram or it was Twitter. It was just a picture with him and his newborn child, and he had the biggest smile on his face. I think this is where he wants to be. He wants to be home with his family, but I don't think that means that he's hanging up the boots. So I think we definitely will see more of Mikey Nicholls for sure.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to assume that he's left on good terms, right? Like it's been done the right way. He asked for his release, they granted it. You got to assume with the whole global localization, and we talk about, will we eventually get it NXT Australia or Asia Pacific? You got to assume when the global localization hits Australia, he'll be one of the first guys called.
And if they didn't have him at least in the Performance Center, they would be batshit insane. Like, He's got so much experience to give from his time in Japan, obviously his time in NXT, in the WWE. He can really show these guys what it takes and where they need to be to achieve their dream of wrestling for World Wrestling Entertainment.
Yeah. So obviously all the best to Mikey Nicholls, and this is obviously a self-requested thing. It's what he wants, so we wish him all the best. We hope he's super happy with the decisions that he's made. And that's the last news item that I have. There's actually been a lot of news that that we had to cover.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Sorry to interrupt the podcast, B Plus players, but I just need to take a second to tell you about Threadbox. Threadbox is a subscription service for men that makes looking good easier than ever before. Just fill out a few questions to start building your style profile, and from there you will be paired with a stylist who will send you new threads once a month, so you don't have to worry about checking the stores and finding new clothes. It's like having a personal shopper and stylist at your fingertips, and you just sit back, relax, wait for your awesome new gear to arrive in the mail. They sent me a box this month. I got a new pair of jeans. I got 2 shirts. You can check out the unboxing video on the Facebook page. And the best part about it is you can get in touch with your stylist by email at any time. So if you need new singlets, if you need new long sleeves, if you need new shoes, if there's something specific you want, you just let them know what you need and they'll tailor the box to your specific requests. It's a completely personalized service available on any budget. You'll always get way more value than you pay for because Threadbox work with all the best brands. Boxes start from just $40, and if you use our code, the B+15 at checkout today, you're going to get 15% off your first box. So what are you waiting for, man? Like, if you want to look better with less effort, head to threadbox.com.au and use the code the B+15 to get your box today. We are all WWE fans here. It's why we're here, listening to this show and spending inordinate amounts of hours consuming, complaining, and just generally eating, sleeping, and breathing professional wrestling. But if you want to take that to the next level, the only place to do it is WrestleMania 35 in the city so nice that they named it twice New York. And our new friends at All Aussie Travelers are going to help you make that happen in the best way possible. They are new to the wrestling travel game, granted, but they have over 15 years experience in sports and event tours between the US and Australia, so you know you're in good hands. They want to offer you an exclusive WrestleMania package, including return flights to the USA, 6 nights at the New Yorker Hotel right next to Times Square. And the thing that sets these packages apart are the VIP suites that AAT have secured for WrestleMania. So that's, of course, the Raw after WrestleMania. So not only are you going to go to the Hall of Fame, not only are you going to go to WrestleMania 35, but for NXT TakeOver, SmackDown Live, and the Raw immediately after WrestleMania that next night, you are going to be in an exclusive VIP suite that is not normally available to the public. But AAT, they got it locked down. They got it waiting for you with your name on it, your own private entrance, your own private toilets and bar, as well as an unparalleled view in the most comfortable seats in the house. You can experience WrestleMania weekend like never before, all at really competitive prices. So head over to All Aussie Travelers on Facebook, hit that like button, send him a message, send an email to Jack, that's JAAK, at allaussie.com.au, and let them know the B Plus sent you. Let's talk about the shows that we came here to talk about. One Fall, and I figured we'd talk PWA as well since it's up on demand and we were at the show and all that sort of stuff. But One Fall, episodes 3 and 4 in the can a couple weeks ago now. We watched them live.
We did.
What do you think?
Look, they were fine. They were certainly watchable. The talent, again, put on great performances for the crowds that were in attendance and those that were streaming. There were more technical issues, which we can, again, touch on if you wish.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, we talked about it before. RMI TV, I mean, you're using students to put on the show. A lot of these kids are people who don't even watch wrestling, right? Which I think is probably a mistake, and I think that that's a mistake that hopefully Chris and the 1-4 team are learning from, is you need people who know at least a little about wrestling to be shooting wrestling, because there were things like, missing the connection on a suicide dive to the outside, and then moving to the outside to catch the aftermath, and then missing a high spot that's happening in the ring. Little things like that happen that are very frustrating. There was a lot of missed camera work and stuff. But yeah, overall, I felt like technically with the production stuff, they got better throughout the 4 shows. And they did the sort of stick more to the one studio as opposed to cutting across too often, only when it really was necessary, which I thought was good.
I agree. Yeah, I think that they reined it in a little bit and they said, let's just stick with the one studio. I don't think I actually recall them going to another studio on night 3. So they really seem to stick to the one studio. They started to get Phil to the entrance ramp to do his interviews there, rather than that awkward cross. And so Smack Daddy could sort of say, "We're going to throw to Phil," and Phil's right near him. It just made things a lot easier. It seemed a lot smoother. And yeah, the camera work, while still there was a little bit of stuff that was being missed from a lack of experience, it was a lot sharper than it was. And even things like the name plates and all that stuff, which is minor in the grand scheme of things, that seemed to be a lot better as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's minor in the grand scheme of things, but it's still important. It is something that you hope would get done right. And so it is something that it was good to see them improve, but there were still little errors and things being missed and what have you, which I guess is probably a product of, their students. And in some cases, they're people who don't necessarily even know much about the product that they're doing. But like you said, the talent were the real highlight. I do think night 4 was unfortunately the weakest night. Which, you want to close out with a bang, but it kind of didn't. It was talent-wise, I mean, you had on the first show, you had the Robbie Eagles factor, you had the Jonah Rocks, and all these sorts of people that weren't there for nights 3 and 4.
Yeah, and Vixen was missing, Mad Dog was missing. There were a few talents that were missing from those earlier shows where they were sorely missed. You had Adam Brooks, who stuck it out for the 4 shows. He must have been booked for all 4, and it was great to have the Gloat there. He's so talented. He's got great charisma, and puts on a hell of a match every time he steps in the ring. But yeah, there were other people where I felt that there were stories to tell, and they weren't there, and it made it feel a little bit empty, to be honest with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I mean, they did a good job with some of the stories, like Fox and Sid Parker. They had their whole thing that went through all 4 episodes, I think, and ultimately culminated in a Falls Count Anywhere match. Episode 4 was a little weird as well. There was a lot of dick jokes. I'm remembering now.
I remember you messaging me at the time too, saying there's a lot of dick jokes going on here.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was the talent sort of being like, "Oh, let's have some fun," because because unfortunately there were only like 20 people or so in the crowd, I think. So, but yeah, it's one of those things. There was a lot of dick jokes. I don't know how much of it was written, how much of it was just on the fly. In this Fox versus Sid Parker Falls Count Anywhere match, like there was a daxing that took place.
Well, and you also had Crackerjack stapling people on the genitals with his staple gun. So yeah,
Slade Mercer wrestled with a staple in his dick.
He did.
Hats off to the guy.
He is
That's
a tough
impressive.
man. I would have quit. I would have said, nope, not doing this.
Yeah, the hero we deserve. Wait, that's not. Not the hero we deserve, but the hero we need. I don't know how that goes, but you get what I'm saying.
I certainly do, yeah.
It's Batman!
Yeah. One other thing I do quite like was the fact that the Mile High Club featured prominently in the 4 episodes. They did such a great job as a young team to really establish themselves on these shows. And
yes.
I was really proud for them. Because I think they did a great job. They got the fans right on side as well. I think they were calling them the Stoner Pilots or something like that as a play on the Mile High thing, which was awesome. Yeah. And
I became an instant fan of those guys.
Oh, they did such a good job. Like I think I said the last time we spoke, they took the ball and they ran with it. And they did a great job. I can't wait to see more of them. I think I saw a post on the weekend that they actually captured some tag team gold. So the future's bright for them, and I can't wait to see more of them in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually just before we recorded, I was speaking to them, and people will hear that shortly. Don't want to give anything away, but there is another bonus episode coming out, and you will hear from the Mile High Club. And yeah, they've got a booking over in Tokyo. They were heading over to watch Wrestle Kingdom, and yeah, they're They're booked in some on some indie shows over there while they're over there, which is fantastic.
That's awesome. Get some experience working in, a wrestling hub like Japan. I remember listening to, I think it was Kai Drake that was talking to someone where they were talking about their time in Japan as well. So it's something that some of these guys do to get experience in an international country that's not that far away. And what better time when you're going to see something amazing like Wrestle Kingdom to also take advantage of that and, wrestle on some shows yourself. It's a great idea.
Yeah, absolutely. So big things happening for them. And like you said, they were a highlight of the all 4 nights. They definitely were. Also, I want to shout out Dowie, JXT, the lads, Dowie's introductions. So effortlessly charismatic. I shouldn't say effortlessly. I feel like he probably puts a lot of effort into that. So sorry, Dowie, it's not effortless. I'm sure you work hard at that. But it's they were a highlight as well. And of course, Loverboy, the one fall champion. Just he and Hustle and Flow. I mean, they did everything they could to make that entertaining, and I think they did a backup job.
It's a great story, the Hustle and Flow and Lockie Hendricks story. I don't know if you've seen the Facebook posts that are coming out at the moment. Lockie Hendricks now has a media manager, so he's not posting on social media himself anymore because he feels victimized by the fans, particularly for his time at One Fall and how he retained the title. So I love everything that Loverboy Lockie Hendricks is doing. He just needs to keep doing what he's doing. Everything he touches turns to gold. So
right, and that's the thing that's where I was coming from with this show, with the optimism about it, with the hoping it's going to be better than it probably ended up being. But I still think there's room to grow. Like I said, these are students. It's a first time promoter as well. So there's going to be growing pains. But the main thing to me was it's a place for the boys to work. It's a place for them to get out there in front of people. It's a place for them to be on tape so that people... I mean, we were watching this from Sydney and Adelaide, respectively, right? Which you got to give it to One Fall. That is something cool that they did, that they brought to the world, that, now Wrestle Rampage jumped on and did it as well. This is a good thing.
Absolutely. And just looking at the Night 4 card, we saw Sydney's Vinnie Vane, who, other states probably aren't all that familiar with, but he's wrestled in quite a few promotions here, like Hunter Valley Wrestling and AWF and AWE, and he's made his way down to wrestle on a stream where, as you said, people in Adelaide and people in Melbourne have now seen Vinnie Vane, and he would not have had that opportunity if not for One Fall. So there's definitely some credit that needs to go to One Fall's way for giving wrestlers, as you say, another place to work and greater exposure.
Yeah. And now, I mean, like I said, it wasn't necessarily the best. And there was, the biggest that we haven't talked about yet, Night 3, the ring breaking. Ooh, I was terrified watching everything else that happened after that because I was genuinely worried for these guys whenever they'd hit the ropes.
Yeah, so just for those who haven't seen it, the opening match on Night 3 was Adam Brooks taking on Loverboy Lockie Hendricks for the Openweight Championship. And, man, those two guys deserve so much credit for how they handled that situation because when Loverboy ran the ropes, they came loose, they fell apart. And
yeah, so not even a big guy. I spoke to some people who were there. Apparently, the ring mechanics were off because of the way the studio was, and they weren't allowed to have the ring on the floor because of the studio's rules, so they had to put foam down underneath, and that's made the ring sort of be a little bit off.
Yep.
And so the mechanics weren't working properly, and when the ropes were hit... I mean, because Loverboy's not even a big dude,
No. But again, full credit to those guys because they took it in their stride and they still put on a really entertaining match for the fans in attendance and for those of us watching on the stream. So, again, yeah, Adam Brooks, Loverboy, Lockie Hendricks, well done, making the best of an unfortunate situation.
Yeah, absolute professionals. And that's the thing, too, is all the boys that went out there and all the boys and girls that went out there and did what they did on those 4 nights, they earned their paycheck. So it was they did the best with what they had, and they went out there, they were utmost professionals and put in the work, and that's what I'm all about, is the wrestlers and the wrestling, right? And we got to see some really good wrestling. We got to see some, not as great wrestling as well. Some of the matches were a little lackluster, whether that was because of time given or what have you. But for the most part, we got to see the guys go out there and do what they do. And it was fantastic for that reason and for that reason alone.
I agree. Regardless of your opinions on other areas of the show that you may have thought were lacking, there's one thing that you can't take away from the show, and that is that the wrestlers that turned up, gave it their all, and we got some really good entertaining matches out of it. So I think,
and we got some entertaining scenarios as well, like on night 2, the camouflage incident with Sid Barker with the green screen. And let's talk about Crackerjack as well. I have to say, I think it was a bit of an error. Crackerjack wasn't on show 3, and I couldn't get a clear response as to why that was. No one, as far as I can tell, it was just for the angle. If he was off for personal reasons or whatever, he wasn't booked that night because he had something else on, I don't know. All I know is that he wasn't on night 3, and the way they played it off was it was all part of an angle, which, when Crackerjack was the most entertaining part of the show and really held the booth together and held the presentation together, I don't think it was worth the payoff of the angle to take him off for an entire night and a half. Because he did end up back on commentary on night 4 after he won a match to be reinstated on commentary. I don't think it was worth the angle to take him off, to be honest with you.
And I totally agree with you. All due respect to Chris Shadows, because he did a fine job. However, as I think we touched on in our Crackerjack appreciation hour last time, he just brought a lot to that the wrestler psyche, as we said, and constantly explaining what was going on in his unique way. And the angle was funny when they crossed to Phil, and Phil was explaining how Crackerjack got so much positive, and he got so much positive feedback that he decided he would now demand an exorbitant amount of money to continue his commentary duties. That was quite funny. I did enjoy that. But
I popped for that because it was us.
Well, and I did laugh. I did laugh. Yeah. I think that we spent a lot of time stroking Crackerjack's ego, and he then went to 1-4 management and said, "Well, pay me. Where's my money?"
Well, because I think I actually said on the last podcast we did, I'm pretty sure I said the exact words, "Whatever he's being paid, it's not enough."
I think you said triple it. I think that's what you said.
And so then they spun that into the angle, which I mean, look, for me, that was fantastic and I really enjoyed it. But I do have to be honest, even for that personal enjoyment, which was very high, even for that and for just the payoff of the angle, I don't think it was worth losing him on commentary for a night and a half, because he was really a strong point on that show, and not having him there on show 3, it was really felt.
I agree, and yeah, when they look at it for next year, if they do continue, which I believe they're going to, I would definitely ensure that Crackerjack is booked on commentary for however many nights they choose to do, for taping purposes or again for the live stream. I would have him there as often as I could, because not only does he explain it quite well for you and me, who have been watching wrestling our entire lives, but also the new fan that might tune in because it's an intriguing idea of having a live stream of Australian wrestling. He did quite a good job, like even that first triple threat match on night 1, he did a good explanation of what a triple threat match is and what a fall is, and I think that is very valuable to the new fans that you're bringing in. Not so much the marks, but the new fans that you're trying to lock in and retain.
Yeah. Well, look, I have. This is something I'm glad you brought that up. I love that. I have had people ask me, "Oh, why do you always say, like, every Aussie Grapps episode that you do, you point out that you also do this on Saturday, that on Sunday, this on Monday, rah rah rah." And I said, it's the Stan Lee philosophy, rest in peace, that every comic is someone's first comic. And every wrestling show is someone's first wrestling show. Every podcast is someone's first podcast. And if you just go through assuming everyone's going to know everything that you're talking about, it's just not true, and you're going to lose people. So yeah, having that person there to be that gateway and explain things for newbies, especially on a first-time TV show, like it's brilliant.
Absolutely, and it's such a great philosophy to have. So yes, thank you, Stan Lee, because it's so true that anything could be the first time for someone, and to have a show explain everything, make it clear to them what's going on, you're going to have a much better chance of retaining that person and making a fan out of them, because they can understand almost instantly what is going on, and they'll connect with it a lot more.
Yeah, and there's a fine line to walk, one that Stan himself did not necessarily always walk quite well. There's a fine line to walk between, being there for someone who is new and holding hands of people who don't need their hand held through it, right? There's a fine line between that, and I felt like Crackerjack did walk that. We're turning back into the Crackerjack Appreciation Hour again. He's going to ask for even more money. They're not going to be able to afford him. But he did a really good job of walking that line, and it's a hard line to walk. So, yeah, I definitely agree with you that it should season 2 come around, which for the sake of having more places for people to work and more things for us to talk about, I hope it does. You got to hope Crackerjack is central and they don't run an angle where they take him off TV.
Yeah, and he does do a good job of that, and something that I may not have suggested before, but I will suggest to people now, search out Behind the Belt. It was a wrestling podcast series that Crackerjack did with a couple of other people for ABC. And he did such a good job, again, of he and the team did such a good job of explaining wrestling to somebody that might have been unfamiliar with it, while still engaging people that are long-time fans of the art. So definitely check that one out.
Yeah, and even more so giving stories for those of us who are Aussie wrestling fans as well, that they go into the stories and what have you from the history, which is great. So yeah, I would second that recommendation. Good get, man. Good get. Let's move on though. I think that's enough talk about One Fall. Overall, it wasn't great. It definitely wasn't as bad as some people have said, and it was good to get to see the guys wrestle live on a Wednesday and Thursday night from my home in Adelaide.
I agree.
I think that's the biggest takeaway for me, is it was really good to watch Dowie and JXT wrestle live. Like that made me happy.
Yeah, and we talked about it before, but we'll touch on it one more time. I hope more promotions get involved with Kling or other streaming services and try and do that live stream, because if anything, they were the first to, that I'm aware of, please correct me if I'm wrong, but the first to really try with Australian wrestling, and it may or may not have inspired Wrestle Rampage to do the same that weekend. So
yeah, and having talked to Aiden from Iron Fist, he's looking into it as well for the next show when that comes around. So it's a really good thing. More live Aussie Grapps, please.
Again, for the connection purpose, I think. So yeah, let's keep our fingers crossed that we see more of it in 2019.
Yeah. So someone who I would love to see it happen with is PWA, because I'm not a huge fan of having to wait 4 days. How crazy is it that they turned this show around in 4 days?
It's incredible. JT Robinson is the one that does the editing. Well, he definitely did it for this show. And he posted up on Instagram, I think it was, where he was showing like the final editing that he was doing. And I think Shaz and McKenzie commented and was like, it's already done? Like, even the wrestlers can't believe how quick it's been turned around. But I think they do such a good job. They realize the hype, because the fans are tweeting the event, like yourself, when for your show you were putting a lot of stuff up on the B+. There was a lot of hype and people were hungry for it. And PWA did everything in their power to turn that around quickly so that the hype didn't settle. that people could get stuck in and watch it. And I've since watched it a couple of times since it's come up on PWA Play, because it was a fantastic show there live, but I just wanted to watch it again. And yeah, they did a very good job editing it as well. It was not rushed. They did a great job.
Yeah, no, it's the PWA shows are always fantastic. Like that's my main experience with the Black Label stuff, is watching it on pwaplay.com, and you know it's amazing to see what they can do. And I think Jax Jordan, Party Boy Jax, does a lot of the video montages and stuff. How good were those new ones for this show?
Well, PWA can correct me if I'm wrong, but like I remember them being on the Progress PWA show. There were some, but these ones were like on another level, and it was so good to see them in Max Watts on this. They had the screen, and they were
the screen they had, yeah.
Oh man,
yeah.
Because they had a video screen last time, but they didn't utilize it for that, and they've done it this time, and man, it just added just an extra element to an already fantastic product. I was so impressed.
Yeah. How good was just the venue matching the theme? So this, of course, Fridays are for the babes. It was a show run by the babes. It was frat party themed. And when we walked in, we were handed red cups, which was amazing. I'm on the show. You can see me with my Dowie James tank. Normal is a myth. And I'm grabbing me and my beard, grabbing my red cup as we walk into the venue. But everyone gets a red cup as you walk in, which was a nice touch. And then the place was decked out. So the babes had taken over. They'd hung their own banners from the rafters. Things like Bonza is a ranger, Jax Jordan pays for Tinder, that was my favorite one. But they had a couple of those up there. I think Rose has a small penis was another one.
Yep.
Rose was nowhere to be found, which was a nice touch. Of course, with Wahlberg in charge, he's not going to book Rose on commentary.
No way.
Why would he?
No way.
So
I feel terrible that I even thought about it in a preview, as if he would have him.
Yeah,
he hates it.
I thought that he was going to be there in some capacity, and let's talk about that too. I was so wrong in all of my predictions. I think we both were. We were so wrong in all of our predictions that Matty Wahlberg and Carter Deems actually made fun of me for how wrong I was. Carter put his arm on my head. I'm standing at the merch table, and he comes over, he puts his arm on my head. This is the podcast guy, right? Oh, I think Jax might win this. And just ripping on me. Like I felt like I was in high school, and these are the jocks, and they're picking on me again, man. Like he's leaning on my head like I'm fucking nothing. It was amazing, because it's the gimmick, so it's okay when it's the gimmick.
Yeah.
That's what I tell myself.
Yeah, I probably would have cried myself to sleep if that happened to me. But man, totally wrong. But I love being wrong about it, though.
Yeah, me too.
I was so pleasantly surprised with the show, and okay, and each result, I just sort of went, okay, great, like. As I said, I'm glad to be wrong in that instance every time. Even if I got all of them wrong, I would have walked out of there with a massive smile on my face.
Yeah, well, it comes back to what I said with Mike Quackenbush and the uncertainty thing, right? You got to sprinkle that doubt. Always got to sprinkle that doubt. If people don't know what's happening, I mean, as long as it's not ridiculous, like Vince Russo, like because Judy Bagwell on a pole match, like as long as it's not weird stuff like that. I think that sprinkling of the uncertainty. You don't want to know what's happening. The fact that I got everything wrong, as a person who watches as much wrestling as I do, I can quite often predict things that are going to happen in various promotions. The fact that I'm getting things wrong means you're doing things right.
That's right. And they've had Quackenbush over. They had to release the Quackenbush show, but they had him do some workshops with the wrestlers, the performers, and I know for a fact that guys like Jack Bonza and Big Fudge, among others, are massive fans of Mike Quackenbush. They're always promoting his podcast, Kayfabe 2.0.
Great podcast. Great podcast.
And his book as well. I think it's 7 Keys to
7 Keys to Becoming a Better Performer, a book for fellow pro wrestlers.
I have it on Audible, and I'm making my way through it at the moment because yeah, I took their advice and listened to Kayfabe 2.0, and I was so impressed that, yeah, I went and got the audio book, and I'm working my way through it as well. So, again, they've followed the advice from him about uncertainty and many other things that you'll learn if you listen to his podcast. We don't need to go off the rails, and
no,
because it could become the Mike Quackenbush Appreciation Hour. But
well, look, if you're going to spend an hour appreciating someone, the quack is a good one to appreciate. But no, I do think, yeah, I think PWA are a lot of the guys that are in charge of PWA are big fans. I know Madison spent time over there. Obviously, Shazza as well is a huge fan. And Chikara are another company where I predict things that are wrong all the time with Chikara. So it's a good thing to me. These are my favorite promotions for a reason. And yeah, I did not see. I know a lot of people thought it's definitely going this way, and that's why I thought it's definitely not going this way. But the Bonza Moretti final that we're getting in Coliseum come February, I didn't see it coming. I thought, they're not going to go to that right now. Like it's too much, like kind of like going to the well. But then the way they've done it and the way they've set it up with the whole, they've got to defend the tag titles first at this impromptu show that no one knew about. It's all very exciting. And
the teasers as well, like TMDK saying, "Oh, everybody's throwing up the four fingers, like as a team that can beat us." So there was all these little teasers that were dropped to make us think, no, not now. It's not going to be now. We'll get Moretti and Bonza in the future, but we're not getting it right now. And hook, line, and sinker, man. I said my predictions. I'm going with the Jordan De Silva final, and again, proud as punch to admit that I was wrong, because it just means that they've done such a great job selling me the dummy and going with what will be a fantastic final. And I'm sure that the show in between is going to have a lot of story to build to that final. Right. So in terms of the semifinals, obviously spoilers there. Jack Bonza and Mick Moretti are headed to the final. That takes place in February. The fight for black medal. They get that badass sword. You got to think something else is going to come along with it, maybe a title shot or something. They haven't said though, but they do get at least that badass sword. So now I'm pulling for Mick Moretti, well and truly, because he's going to look incredible with that sword. Yeah. I think Bonza will look good with the sword too. Actually, I was thinking about it. With the bandana thing he's got over his head, and his military attire, and having Kingsley waving his Red Nation flag behind him. You mean her evil clone, the flag bearer? I apologize. The flag bearer. I think she can become the sword bearer. That's right. She could be in charge of black metal while Bonza is in competition. So yeah, I heard myself say sword bearer, and I'm just like, a sword bear? What do we think of next? But no, it could go either way. But I'm pulling for Mick Moretti. I think it's gonna. Sorry, Bonza. He's been on the show before. He was a fantastic guest. But Moretti. Moretti's he's one of the unsung heroes of Australian wrestling to me, which is weird because everyone loves Mick Moretti and he's the king and everyone knows it. But I think that just the connection that he's built and the pop in that place on that night, because I was there live and it was insane. Oh, they adore Mick Moretti. I adore Mick Moretti. You adore Mick Moretti. And yeah, when he got that win over Unsocial Jordan, I thought that the roof was going to blow off the joint. The pop when he got the win, incredible. Like, he got a massive pop when he came out. Yeah, just the pop for the entrance, like the pop for the music, like it was. But definitely. But the win, like when he got that win, because I think so many people expected Unsocial Jordan to screw his way into this. And then Moretti, with the ultimate screw himself, gets the win, and the roof, like it was incredible. The pop that he got, incredible. Yeah. And I will say that the one thing I was right about, it wasn't the finish, but one thing I was right about was the Shooting Star DDT coming back, and Bonza countering it into a bloody amazing move himself. So he put Paris De Silva up into a vertical suplex, dropped him into a tombstone pile driver, and then hit the tombstone pile driver. It was a giftable moment in itself. So
yeah, and I said that shooting star DDT would come back, so I got something right, Carter. I got something right.
Well, and if you want to rub it in Carter's face more, we did tip One Direction to win against who was in that match? Sorry, Carter and
look. I don't want to upset the babes because I am a fan. You guys were robbed. One Direction cheated. That was not called for at all. One Direction made a new fan, so we actually didn't meet up on the night, which bummed me out. But I was so drunk I didn't even realize. But we didn't meet up on the night. I messaged you the next day. I was like, "Wait, did we meet?" And we did not. But I was there with some of the other B+ guys. So Mikey was there, Jay was there, the regular Jay who does Impact Cast with me, and it was his first PWA show. And I kid you not, this is what happened. This was the sequence of events for One Direction. The music hits. Jay looks at me. He's like, "What the fuck is this?" They come out wearing the masks, singing in Spanish. He's like, "Holy shit, dude!" I'm like, "Yeah, man, they're amazing. Like, it's fantastic. It's a great gimmick." And he's like, he saw the shirt that they're wearing, and he's like, "Is that their shirt?" I'm like, "Yeah, it says Kings of Song Style." He hopped up, went to the merch desk, came back before their entrance was finished, wearing a Kings of Song Style shirt.
It's an awesome shirt, man. It's an awesome shirt.
So
they have that effect on people.
Yeah, it was just fantastic to see. And that's the thing that sets PWA apart from anyone in Australia. Now, I mean, there's always the debate of, well, who's the biggest? You got, it's probably between MCW and PWA, I'd say. EPW do fantastic work over there, but they kind of, it's Western Australia. They get ignored. Adelaide gets ignored. Wrestle Rampage is fantastic. Riot City is fantastic. And you can watch it on freaking YouTube for free. And people don't talk about it as much because we're the forgotten states, right? But there's always the conversation of MCW, PWA, MCW, PWA. And I think the thing that sets PWA apart, like I have to be honest about this. I have an emotional attachment to PWA because they were the promotion that showed me 5-6 years ago that Australian wrestling can be not shit, right? So I have that emotional attachment to a lot of the wrestlers and to the company itself. But even putting that aside, I think that the thing that sets PWA apart is, and I felt it when I was in that room, every single wrestler on that card has an intimate connection with the people in the crowd. Every single one. Whether face or hit, like Michael Spencer has a direct and strong, very volatile connection with that crowd. Every single wrestler on the roster, probably the only person I didn't feel that immediate strong connection with from the crowd to the wrestler was Kai Drake, and he hasn't been there as long as a lot of the other people that were on the card. But even someone like Lucci, Belle Pierce, like everyone has something that really sets them apart, and they have a strong connection with the crowd, and everyone has a purpose for being. So even if a match looks on paper like it's a throwaway, like the 4-way tag team match or the 5-way non-title match where UG pinned 3 guys, which was amazing. Even if it looks on paper like it's not that important, everyone has a purpose for being and a clear shtick that they're working and a connection with the crowd that makes it just magical every time.
Yeah.
And I think that sets it apart from anything else that you can experience.
It's a great point. Whether it's Big Fudge as the garbage man or it's Conco desperately trying to get into a group, but even his regular self on the penny farthing, even Jessica Troy, Adam Hoffman, the Babes who we've just spoken about.
Right. Robbie, so even when you walk away from the more cartoony aspects, you got you got Robbie or the Madison Eagles, where their thing is we're great wrestlers.
Damn
right.
straight.
And everyone in the room was bowing down, right, for Madison. Robbie got a standing ovation just on his entrance and a welcome back chant. The dude was only gone for one show.
Yeah, but he's the heart and soul of PWA, man.
No, I know. I know. And he was off in Japan making everyone incredibly proud. So, but what I'm saying is, yeah, everyone has something that just connects them. It was kind of magical, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's something that is very, very special about what these wonderful people bring to the table. Because, as you said, everybody is connecting Unsocial Jordan is one that does a really good job of bringing out the worst in the crowd. Kai Drake, I don't think he's going to have to worry about it too much, because the way that he stood up to Ugg and some of the stiff shots that he was exchanging with Ugg, a whole new level of respect from myself. And I'm sure that there's plenty of others that feel the same way.
I'm sure that connection is building. Yeah,
absolutely. And you're right. It's time. It's going to take a little bit of time, but he will earn that respect, and that name Dragonheart, that'll be on a t-shirt, and you'll be seeing people in the crowd wearing that t-shirt for sure.
Definitely. I can't sing the praises of this show enough. Go out and watch it on pwaplay.com. I don't think, is there much else to talk about in terms of like standout moments, as opposed to just talking about how great it was overall?
Oh, look, there were some good standout moments. I mean, the Michael Spencer Madison Eagles match was really good, and it's certainly left the fans wanting more. And they did it in such a way that, you couldn't think that Michael Spencer was any more irritating, and then they've made him even more irritating. Phenomenal job. We've also got the Mighty Don't Kneel with Mikey Broderick and Damian Slater cutting a promo at the end after defeating the Velocities in Jude the Dude London and Matt Diamond, who I've penned as Jude in the Sky with Diamond.
You keep changing the name. There was something else last time.
They were the Diamond Dudes last time.
Yeah. I still like Diamond Dudes. What did they call themselves? They called themselves the Vest Friends?
Yes, they did, which is fantastic. Because they both,
interesting choice.
Well, they both have the vests with the embroidered patches and things like that. So I think that's the go-to. I know Jude at the moment. He and Paris the Silver are doing like a conspiracy angle with Wrestling Go, and they go to the alien on the vest. So I think that's the thing. I think they found a nice connection there, and they've rolled with that, and it's cool. Vest Friends, I like it.
Yeah, I like it. I approve this name. But the other thing I wanted to mention too, how good did Jax Jordan look with that new haircut?
He looked edgy as fuck. I loved it.
And he came out on fucking fire too. Like he had a point to prove that he was enough, and unfortunately he didn't get the job done. But like that match, it opened the show, Matty Wahlberg versus Jax Jordan, and it almost stole the show for me. Like, given everything that was to come after was incredible. Robbie and Tyler Payne put on a good match, and then of course Madison Eagles, Michael Spencer was fantastic. The main event was fantastic. Mick Moretti's versus Unsocial Jordan was fantastic. Every match was good, but it was to open the show the way they did with Jax Jordan and Matty Wahlberg, I was hyped.
Yeah, they couldn't have picked a better match to open the show. I love how Matty, we had the Babes entrance and Diego got the Babes starter pack and all that fun stuff.
The tiny cup that was meant for the Velocities.
Yeah, guys, you have to watch it. Yeah, absolutely have to watch it. But Matty Wahlberg, after all of that mucking around, said, I've got a case of beer backstage. I've got these beautiful ladies with me. I want to kick Jax Jordan's ass right now and get it over and done with. And Jax showed Matty that nothing was certain. And he came out really, as you said, on fire. And he was defiant to the end in this match, so much so that there was a choke out at the end, which I love the choke out finish, by the way. There was a wonderful one with Nikki Cross and Shayna Baszler in NXT as well. But this was fantastic with the triangle. Jax refusing to tap, goes to sleep. Matty Wahlberg, you don't belong, like the yelling. Jax Jordan spitting in his face. This was my favorite match on the card. There was so much emotion. The promo video that was done beforehand. I know Jax does a lot of those videos.
Amazing.
I don't know how involved he was in making this one, but I bloody loved it.
Yeah.
it was outstanding.
And all of these stories have another chapter to tell. Did you notice that? There was no blow off the entire show. It was, and I think Bonza pointed that out on Twitter as well.
Yeah, and Shazam,
it blew my mind because it was such a satisfying show.
I agree, 100%. It leaves you wanting more. Like even Tyler Payne. Like what is next for Tyler Payne? Like his involvement in the Unsocial Jordan match. He didn't seem entirely confident and certain in what he was doing. He seemed extremely conflicted. And after watching the show on PWA Play, the extra that you get from watching it on PWA Play is you get some of the backstage interviews. And the interview with Unsocial Jordan with Heather and Payne appearing in the interview, the look of the conflicted look on his face, it just, again, added more to the story, which made me glad I actually went onto PWA Play and rewatched the show as well, because it gave that extra element to show that, in fact, there is definitely no blow-off, except for, as Shazza pointed out, hopefully her head not being in Ricky South's trunks anymore, because she ate a Dino driver in the five-way match. And so Shazza said, well, hopefully that's the only blow-off, is that I will never have my head in Ricky South's trunks ever again.
So I guess that's all I wanted to talk about, really, with One Fall and PWA. Did you have anything else you want to touch on before we go?
No, just imploring the listeners to get on and check out PWA Play. There were some great matches on this card, even some of the matches that you probably thought, when they announced it, I might not have wanted to see that necessarily. They were all fantastic. I actually quite liked the five-way match involving Caveman Ugg, Shazza McKenzie, Kai Drake, Big Fudge, and Ricky South. There were some great interactions between each of the members of the match. And
yeah, definitely. And the four-way tag team match as well, which was the other one, which on paper I was like, it was really entertaining, and it had one of the, I'm not a fan of human caterpillar spots. Anyone who listens to the show regularly enough will know that. But it had a human caterpillar spot that actually entertained me when Lucci got passed on to the next person and the next person and the next person, and ultimately ended up with the submission on Bill Pierce, and then they did the super kick party, and it was very entertaining, and it was the first time I've ever enjoyed a human caterpillar submission spot.
And I hope that team does some more work together, because one of the things that I loved about it so much, there was a fantastic spot in the match. If you're not familiar with Belle Pierce, she uses glitter.
Yes.
So what she did was she used her glitter to her advantage when she had a couple of members of One Direction giving her a bit of grief. She's thrown the glitter in the air. They've slipped over, similar to the two thieves in Home Alone. But basically, Lucci saw this and jumped in the ring and basically bit her head off for littering glitter all over the ring. I love the heel and face together in this situation. It's such a great combination. I want to see more of it, and I want to see where it goes. Does Belle Pierce become a heel? Does Lucci become a face? Which way is it going to go? Or are they going to stay that sort of yin and yang? Very intriguing.
Which, given the gimmicks, the yin and yang thing is on a whole other meta level. Really, really interesting. I don't want to put a prediction out there because I'm going to be wrong, and Carter Deems is going to make fun of me and put his arm on my head and make me feel very small. So, with that, let's call it a day. Everyone, absolutely check out PWA Play. Of course, that's a standing recommendation. Always, get out to the shows if you're in the area, support the boys, buy the shirts, and jump on PWA Play, because you also get Nui Pro Play as well, which it's less frequent with the shows, but every now and then you get a Nui Pro show, you get that notification like, hey, there's a Nui Pro show up, awesome, let's watch it. So it's definitely worth the $7 a month or whatever it is, whatever measly amount they ask for you to keep up to date with these PWA shows.
It's one coffee in Sydney, so no, it's probably 2 coffees, but yeah, even so, it's not a lot, and
it's one Melbourne coffee.
Let's stick with that. Let's pick on Melbourne. It's one deconstructed coffee. Yeah.
One Melbourne coffee with almond soy, whatever,
Caramel
vegan-friendly
syrup.
substitutes.
Yeah.
I'm alienating people, so we got to stop. Where can people find you, Dan?
So I'm at P&R Wrestling on Twitter and Facebook, and I'm Potato and Receipt on Instagram. So mainly active on Twitter, but I'm trying to get a bit more active on the others. So yeah, hit me up, give me a like or a follow. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you.
Awesome. I am at GregUnchained on Twitter, at the GregUnchained on Instagram. We collectively are the B Plus Wrestle on Twitter because wrestling wouldn't fit the B Plus Wrestling everywhere else. Like, share, subscribe, 5-star review, etc. Have a fantastic holiday season, and thank you so much for listening.
Hold one. Arm drag.
You're not good at this. Get out. Let me tell you a personal story about Vince McMahon.
You just made the list.
So, no speak English.
Yummy. Goodbye and good night. Hold two. Arm bar.
This is the worst town I've ever been in.
It's still real to me, damn it. Yummy. Hold three. The moss covered. Three-handle family grununcle.